Welcome back, you beautiful marvels. How are you doing today? Dana. Hi, Dana. How are you?
I'm good, Gwen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How lucky are we that we get to do this?
Yeah. And then I'm going to say, bad, Gwen.
Oh,
You did that the wrong way.
yeah.
I'm a really
What a
bad
nice
actor, too.
segue. I know you could never be mean. By the way, Dana could never be mean. That was Dana's mean impression.
That's why I didn't become an actress. Yeah, I just couldn't pull it off. But what I was trying to do is show you how you try to get someone to learn a behavior. You don't do it by punishment or badness.
Shame?
It doesn't usually work.
Or
Shame doesn't usually
I mean
work.
shame
Yeah.
or guilt.
Yeah. Or guilt.
Um
Yeah.
so today what we want to talk about actually is like, how do we help people learn?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dana and I are both psychologists who practice psychology, and I see myself in the role of teacher most often, actually,
Yeah.
because I'm really trying to help someone learn a skill,
Mhm.
or learning about yourself and how to express yourself and know about yourself. It's a skill in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah, for sure.
how do we do that? And I often see teens and young adults in the context of their families or their support systems. And I get to see how other people think that they learn the best.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I mean, we get into this thing thinking, oh, humans, like human children, can understand punishment, and they tell you not even to do that before the age of 2 because kids can't understand that. But as I've shared on here many times with my vet tech background, knowing a lot about animal behavior, you don't do that with training animals. You can beat something into an animal and make them, you can shape their behavior by doing that. But what also comes along with it is that animal being fearful of you, right? Making them afraid of
Mhm.
you. There's been so much research, even in basic learning theory, that reward works better. Shaping, what we call shaping behavior, so rewarding movements towards the behavior you want, works so much better. And then, oh, by the way, that person or animal isn't terrified of you every time you walk into the room, right? Just think about your own experience. Would you be more likely to learn something through a reward or positivity, or someone saying, you did a good job, or even if it's the very least is just not punishment, right?
Yeah.
So if a kid does something, I remember learning in my grad program, they said, well, if a kid's about to do something that's dangerous, you do whatever you need to do to keep them safe. So if a kid's about to run into the street, of course, you're going to scream or grab them by the arm and you're going to pull them out of the street. And then, a parent could be angry because they got so scared, or they could really say, the kid could be totally freaked out that you're angry, but you could say, you scared me. That's
Mhm.
such a different message than, you idiot, you ran into the street, versus, oh my God, I was so scared because you were about to get hit by a car and I don't know what I'd do if you died. Do you see
Yeah.
how different even those land? So that idea, and I think you have to have compassion and be invested in that idea of, seeing what's in there, like you said. I too, I actually teach classes, but as a therapist, that's really what we do. We try to see what's in there and then we try to teach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
fear, punishment, and shame
Hmm.
rarely lead to long-term meaningful movement,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
While I mean, that's and the issue with the punishing agent is
Hmm.
that if the punishing agent is around, that's when behavior tends to be suppressed but then you
Yeah.
remove the punishing agent and that behavior isn't suppressed any longer. I mean,
Yeah.
getting a
Right.
speeding
That's
ticket
another good point.
actually
Yeah.
is a really good example of this, right? You're speeding on the freeway. I live in California. We're hauling down freeways. You see a police officer on the freeway, you automatically slow down to,
Mhm.
not more than 8 miles over the speed limit, because we kind of all know, where you don't want to get caught.
That
And
magic
then,
line. Yeah.
yeah, and then the cop pulls off or catches someone else and you resume your
Yeah.
speeding at right.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't
Ooh,
really
I got
teach you
off. Yeah.
anything. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and, even the idea of like, when I think about parenting,
What it teaches you really quick
yeah,
is to not speed when you see a cop.
exactly. Not
So it does
because,
teach you, yeah, but not to not speed at all. So that's a really good delineation though, right?
yeah, yeah. And that, why is there the rule of not speeding, right? Why? That's a
Mhm.
safety issue. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You get hit at, 80 miles an hour and you're dead. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the reason why, and we all understand that, right?
Mhm.
But I think that the other one I'll add to the fear, punishment and shame is guilt. Like, guilt is another thing that gets put in there.
Yeah.
And, for those of you that
Yeah.
are only listening, I'm of Asian descent. And so
Oh, you know all about
guilt,
that one. Yeah.
guilt
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
fear, punishment, shame, and guilt are all primary parenting techniques. Okay. I mean,
Like
I say
my
this very
dad was
lightly.
mostly the yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
say,
there's
I
some
mean,
cultural expectations.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Or,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
overpowering someone, or like, I know better than you, this type of thing.
Yeah.
You never teach the child to think for
Mm.
themselves, to make
Yeah.
their own decisions, and then to live their own consequences, right? And so
Yeah.
this is like really interesting to me, but I tend to see, and it's almost unintentional or like, it's like almost unconscious for people, the way that a
Mhm.
parent might
Mhm.
respond to a teen or a child, is not necessarily coming at it from, wow, you know what? If you knew better, you'd do better. So let me actually
Yeah.
help you
Yeah.
learn it. Like, this is
Yeah.
demonstrating that you don't have the skill yet. So let me come
Yeah.
to you with support, encouragement to move in the direction of where we would like you to be independently.
Mm.
And this is, I think, inevitably what I see build autonomy and agency in a young
Yeah.
person, so that when they go off to college or they leave their home, they actually have a way to think for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Versus,
Yeah.
I've been told what to do. I do
Mhm.
things to avoid punishment and shame. So I'm
Right.
making decisions out of fear, really,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're lost. Absolutely
Oh
lost
yeah,
when they go.
especially if it's like yeah, I remember I tell this story to clients is my dad taught me we had a dog and the dog would run away sometimes, get out of the fence or whatever. And then my dad taught me, to scour the neighborhood, try to find the dog, and then when you get him, punish him. And
Mm.
so I was like, oh, okay, because he was a bad dog. It made sense, as a kid. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, he ran away. So he'd run from me and then I'd corner him somewhere and I'd get him and then I'd hit him. That's what my
Hmm.
dad taught me to do. It's the stupidest thing I could have done.
Yes.
And then of course I learned this later. Like, if he comes to you after he's run away,
Yeah.
as much as you're mad at him for running away, you have to say,
Yeah.
"Good boy, thank you for coming
Yeah.
to me," because he's not going to
Yes.
understand running away is problematic. He's going to understand when Dana
Coming to
catches
you.
me, I'm in trouble.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and that's that idea. So me rewarding him for coming to me is just what you said. It's giving him efficacy to make the decision to say, oh, if I'm outside of our fence and Dana sees me and says, come here, I'm going to go to her.
Hmm.
It's going to work. And it sounds silly. I'm not meaning to reduce humans to a dog, but that basic learning theory that Piaget used in working with pigeons, it's the same sort of thing. A lot of times people think, oh, humans are so much more complex than that. They are true for sure. But that basic underlying principle is the same. If you try to motivate, we were talking about this before we started recording about our own traumas of driver's ed when they showed us all these
Oh, yes.
horrible videos of
Oh,
people
yes.
dying and crashing who did what you're not supposed to do. It's like that scared straight kind of thing.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
that might be in the back of your mind, like, oh, I don't want to end up like that. but is that going to be the primary thing in your mind when you're trying not to get a ticket because you're not supposed to speed? I guess it would depend on the person. But if that were all you did to get people to drive safety, all you showed them was these horrible video wrecks, it's probably not going to make them drive safer. You're just going to scare them. And have you ever tried to perform well when you're afraid? It doesn't really work very well, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, the motivation thing to motivate me by saying, I'm not going to beat the crap out of you if you do this thing versus, if you do this thing, you can earn some extra allowance this week.
Right.
Sweet. Yeah, that mitt I want to buy. I'm going to work really hard and do this thing to earn some extra money.
Right.
Which one do you think would work better?
Right. Or the more you demonstrate responsibility with social media, the less control I exercise over you because of my fear and worry about social media being put into the hands of brains that are not fully developed.
Right.
I'm also like, wait a minute, why is the driver's ed age 15 and a half? I mean, the frontal lobes aren't even like online yet. I'm like, God. Anyway, no, they are online, just not fully. I think the other thing too is like, when you're motivated, or it's not even a motivation, but when your behavior is triggered by fear, it's a reflex, not a decision. And I think that's the piece that is so disempowering. Over and over and over again, you're trying to please others or avoid punishment or avoid aversion. It's really not you. It's really about everything else, everyone else, right? Yeah. Versus if we teach you how to make decisions, how to live your decisions, how to build skills, then you kind of move into your life being able to think about things and make a decision. And I really want to not have what we're talking about be misconstrued as toxic positivity. Because
for sure.
We're not talking about toxic positivity. We're not saying that everything a kid does is awesome and amazing. I mean, it reminds me of Matilda.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. The beginning of Matilda, where like that song is, every kid is gifted. No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're saying though is if there's a few assumptions, and I make a few assumptions about people. One, they're doing the best they can. And that's important for me as not only a therapist, but as a human being. Now, can a dialectical occur? Can someone be doing the best they can and also make a mistake and also act poorly and also look a fool? Absolutely.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But if we don't believe that people are doing the best they can, given what they got in the moment, right? Like at that moment, then we will always be in this fear, punishment, shame paradigm. Versus, okay, you did the best you can. Let's learn from that. What do you want to do with that? Do you want to make an improvement with that? Like, talk to me about that. And then let's figure that out,
Yeah. And that there's been research that shows like that authoritarian punishing parenting style doesn't work as well as what you're talking about, which we could label democratic or, Socratic
authoritative, I think.
Style.
Isn't it authoritative?
That's authoritative versus the one you're talking about, which is really should be sort of human, but it was labeled democratic when I was taught about it. And then the other far end of the spectrum was they called laissez-faire parenting, which was just letting
permissive.
the kid be kind of wild and learn no limits, which is almost too anxiety provoking as the authoritarian one. And I remember now I look back at it and think, oh my God, what were we thinking? We had a 2-story house I grew up in. My parents were out to dinner one day and me and the other neighborhood kids thought it would be fun to all go up on the roof. We had like 12 kids up there, including one kid who was 5. He was 5 years old and we were running around on this 2-story roof. Apparently one of the neighbors saw and called the police. We heard the siren. We got out fast enough and ran, and then the cop was there when our parents got home. And it was a little bit different this time how my dad did. I could sort of see the fear in him, but we got grounded because it was stupid. But he explained it. He said, it would be so easy for someone to slip. And we had a big cement patio that would have been 2 stories up. it would have been so easy for someone to slip. What if Steven, who was the 5-year-old, what if Steven slipped and crashed down on the patio? He'd be dead. And it was terrifying to hear that, but it was sort of like he wasn't mad when he was saying it. He was just
Yeah.
like explaining it to me, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. I mean, I didn't say that to him because I didn't want to, but that made more sense to me. And I was like, I
Yeah.
can't believe we did that. Like, that was pretty stupid. I deserve to be grounded for a week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Versus if he had just come home and raged and said, you're stupid, shame on you,
Yep.
you're grounded for a week. I probably would have gone the other route, like he doesn't know what he's talking about, and then wanted to actually get, more defiant. And that
Rebellious.
shows that,
Right.
yeah, that authoritarian parent style usually creates kids that are more wanting to be rebellious. Yes, it takes longer to have a conversation. Yes, it takes longer to talk about those things. It's labor intensive, but it's worth it. And to me, if you're really curious and you want to know what's in there, like when we started and you said you couldn't be mean, I've tried to be mean to clients and then they start laughing. I'm like, I'm going to get hard here. I'm going to say something and I'll say it. And then we both start laughing. They're like, you can't do that. But this idea of exploring it together, right? That's a journey of curiosity. Then you get to that place that you started out with. I'm going to presume competence. I'm going to presume they're doing the best they can. If I align with you and say, okay, things aren't working out well, let's get in there and try to figure out what they are together. Mm-hmm. That is better, right? I mean, I think that's why people get drawn to therapy. It's almost like reparenting. It can be because we're doing it in a way that we're like, what's in there, rather than do this way, right?
Oh yeah, and that what's in there is okay.
Yes. Yep.
Like it doesn't matter if you're flat. You took the flashlight and you shine it under the bed and there's dust bunnies under there, and really the monster's not there, but there's some serious cleaning that needs to be done. It's okay. Like it's fine. But I think the minute we presume that others are competent and want to be a part of their life, that automatically feels differently. And that this is necessary in, I think, parenting teens. And, as I have a 15 and a half, almost a 15 and a half year old. And the only reason why I know half is because she's able to take her driver's test, the license permit at 15 and a half. So that age is very clear in our home right now. But I find that the more I fight and control on that are really, the consequences are kind of very minor. A good example of this is, let's say, dress code. Right?
Yeah.
For me, it's like, that's not dress code. I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what the consequences are for not following a dress code if you were to get caught? Yep. Yeah. Okay. It's X, Y, and Z. Are you okay with those? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Because it's not legal or moral or dangerous. Right. I say, live your life. Live your decisions.
Yeah. And if they say, I'm going to do it, I know I might get in trouble. That's a really good learning, what we call a learning opportunity, right? Okay. Try it, see how it goes. And then if she gets in trouble, you say, well, it's sort of like my dad explaining the roof thing. Like that was a bad idea. Yeah.
Yep. Or not. And then at least, though, you got to learn it for yourself. Like, you got to learn that piece. And I get it. Like, obviously, and this is, the line I draw really is like in safety, health and safety. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be like, go try out that fentanyl drug. No, obviously not.
See what happens.
But, the legal, the moral, the safety things. Yeah. But those are pretty clear. I mean, like, I feel like we have those, those are repeated conversations because those are usually reflected in your values as a family. But we've got to believe and turn over the responsibility of decisions and living a life to kiddos as developmentally appropriate. Yeah. But even autistic teens can do this. I know.
Or kids. I mean, this is the whole rage against ABA,
the ABA.
Right? Because it's that authoritarian and people that are doing it, responsibly are hooked into the inner world of the child and giving them choices and things like that. So it feeds that same idea, right? Let's put you in the driver's seat, let you make some decisions. Yeah.
Yes. This is bothering me, so I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
But I thought there were like the three different parenting styles was authoritative,
Hmm.
authoritarian, and permissive.
Yeah, I just learned different names for them. They're similar. I
Okay.
learned authoritarian, democratic, and laissez-faire, just different words for the same
Different words.
different.
Okay. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
what we know, oh, how interesting. Um, okay. This is in parenting.
Hmm.
Okay. We've got authoritative. The only reason, you guys, the reason why we're Dana, okay. This is a loop I have to close
It's
because
okay. Yeah, your
I'm a
brain can't let go of it.
psychologist.
Just do
I
it.
can't let go of
It's
it.
fine. See how we're doing?
Da-
Notice that? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Four types, and it keeps evolving too, right? Like
Oh,
this is
four
another
types.
thing that
Okay.
happens, and I haven't like seen this in a while. Authoritarian, authoritative,
Ah,
permissive, and there's one more. There's other ones.
like neglectful, do whatever you want. I don't care. Parenting.
I think that's the permissive. I think that's a permissive. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay, widely. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is really evolved, Dana.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So, like when Dana and I, what I will speak for myself. When I was in grad school, I learned about three different types:
Yeah,
authoritarian,
I did too.
authoritative, and permissive. Okay. Now there are, and I
Yeah,
don't know if this is
four.
like research based, but here we go:
Okay.
authoritative,
Okay.
authoritarian,
Okay.
attachment, permissive, free range, helicopter, and uninvolved neglectful.
Oh, wow. See, I love that it's evolved because it really does describe the nuances that are more accurate for, and they
Yes.
added helicopter. That wasn't a thing when I was in graduate school. No one,
Oh,
that
it's definitely a
phrase
thing
hadn't
now.
been
And
invented. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and now, you know what? Now there's a new one called snowplow.
What's
They just
that?
the snowplower parent is the one that plows all the difficulty out of the life so that there's a clear path for their kid
Oh, that's different
versus a
than helicopter
helicopter
apparently.
who
Okay.
just comes in and
Oh,
like does things, right? This one just
okay.
like plows
So
the
then when the
lane.
kid is on their own, they
It's
run into these
horrible, so
obstacles and have
bad.
no idea how to
Right.
deal with them.
Right,
Gotcha.
right, right, right,
Okay.
right, right.
Okay.
There's that book, that old book, Dana, Blessings of a Skinned Knee.
Oh, no, I don't know that
And
one.
it's such a lovely book because it's
Uh-huh.
really like this idea of the skinned knee is necessary. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about like chop off your arm, okay? I'm
Right.
talking like a skinned knee. You like those
It
are
happens.
okay
Yeah.
and it happens and it's
Yeah.
normal. But the authoritative parent is the middle ground one, which
Oh, okay.
is setting clear and consistent rules and boundaries,
Mhm.
having reasonable expectations,
Okay.
listening to input, and are generous with feedback, positive feedback.
Oh, see, that's the one I would have learned we would have called democratic, but same
Yep, that's
thing.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
The authoritarian
Yeah.
is the overly punitive,
Yeah.
strict
Yeah.
rules, high expectations, and I don't want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
say goes.
It's my
So
house. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right. The reason
Okay.
why I remember that is because I was taking some sort of history class and I remembered the totalitarian
Yeah.
regime.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the area,
Yeah.
anyway, whatever.
Yeah. I always think of
But
the Nazi Germany authoritative. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so again, like we're not talking toxic positivity, people.
Yeah.
Like this is not what we're saying. What we're saying
Right.
is have reasonable expectations that evolve as your child
Mhm.
evolves.
Yeah.
And this I think is also present in couples,
Yeah.
not even
Oh, yeah.
parenting, but how we are
Yeah.
with our mate.
Yeah, I was watching because I think I've mentioned on here before. I love building projects and watching home improvement shows. And the one I've been watching lately, they'll pitch these ideas to a couple, and it's so, of course, being the good psychologist that I am, watching the dynamic between them. And there's the ones where the husband will say, or the one first partner will say, "Oh, I like that," and then the second partner's like, "No," and then you just sort of see the first partner kind of cave in, like, "Okay." Right? No, 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 no. Versus the one where, oh, I kind of like that, and the other one is like, well, it's not my favorite, but okay. And then you can see them there where they're making. I don't want to use the word concessions. They're compromising. So even if
Yes.
someone doesn't like that one color, okay, I want an all white kitchen, but the other person really wants the island cabinets to be a different color. Okay, that's a compromise. See, it is that sort of idea like you're talking about with couples. You can see that authoritarian. I had a friend of mine once. We went over to their house, and her partner had taken a book out or whatever, and then just left it on the table. I swear to God. And my friend's a psychologist. Said to the partner, "What do we do with the books when we're done?" And you just saw her partner jump up and put it on the bookshelf, and I was like, "Oh, so that's how it is." I wouldn't even do that to a kid. Like, and what do we do with the books when we're done? Yeah, it is that sort of, it's my
Ouch.
way. And you could see the fear in the other one, like, oh, God, I'm in trouble. And it was that same sort of thing, like what we're talking about. We want you to have insight, not feel like you're in trouble.
Yeah, and we want you to feel like you have a voice. I
Yeah.
mean, like kids need voice. We humans need to have a voice
Yeah.
that is heard. And I'm not saying it needs to be followed all the time. I mean, we all
Right.
know we wouldn't follow a kid's voice every single. That's permissive, by
Right.
the way. Like that's the
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
permissive parent.
Yeah.
But, but what is that kiddo thinking? What is that
Mhm.
other person thinking?
Right.
How do we understand that? And sometimes my clients don't have a lexicon or words to
Yeah.
describe how they feel.
Yeah.
We need to help them,
Mhm.
give them ways to express how they feel, what they're
Yeah.
thinking, what they
Yeah.
need. And just because they don't communicate that doesn't mean that they don't have thoughts or
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
I'll throw, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? And let
yeah.
them see if they resonate with it or
Totally.
not.
Yeah.
Or not.
Sometimes that's
Yeah.
really helpful. Like
Mhm.
we're just going to go through choices and you tell me if I'm getting
Mhm.
warmer or
Yeah.
colder and we'll get there if I'm the one that needs to do the Rolodexing,
Yeah. Yeah.
we got
Yeah.
to kind of find it and that's okay too.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah. So I don't
So
know.
yeah,
How do
don't
we help people
motivate through
learn?
fear. It doesn't work. It just makes
Yeah.
that person afraid of you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It really does have, it might be short-term gain, but really long-term loss.
Right.
So,
That's right.
all right, you Marvels. Hey, we want to hear from you, Marvels. Let us know if there's something that you want us to talk about, or there's an insight or something that resonated with you in this episode. Please feel free to share. And if
Yeah.
you like what you're hearing, I'm going to just keep saying this, Dana,
Uh-huh.
is like the video, leave a comment, or leave, if you're listening through your ears only, leave a comment, a positive comment for
Mhm.
us. And that really helps Dana and I continue to do this, and
Absolutely.
something that we both love, absolutely love doing. So,
Yeah.
all right, Marvels, we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.